Hello everyone, my name is Jason and I am an ISFP. Thank you for watching today. I do ask that you would please subscribe. I would appreciate it if you would do so. And if at the end of this video you found it to be entertaining, useful, informational, please hit the like button. Today I want to talk about the shadow functions. This will be technically it's the third video in my shadow function series on the ISFP. The first was just an introduction, and the second covered the function of extroverted feeling, which is the nemesis or opposition function for the ISFP. Today we're going to be talking about the function called the critic function, sometimes called the critical parent function, and for the ISFP that is introverted sensing. Now the idea behind calling it the critic function or the critical parent function is that it's sort of juxtaposed to the parent function of the ego function stack of the ISFP, or the primary function stack. So in the primary function stack of the ISFP, the function, or some people call it the auxiliary function or the second function, is extroverted sensing. So when we drop down to the shadow functions, which some refer to as the unconscious self, the unconscious side of the mind, when we drop down to those shadow functions for the ISFP, the parent function is introverted sensing. Now, introverted sensing is the function that, to a large degree, sort of catalogs away life experiences, and then recalls them later for use and for the ability to sort of go into a situation with some pre-understood expectation or some level of comfort. And then also I've heard it said, and I think I believe it to be true, that introverted sensing in a lot of people develops as a sense of loyalty, a sense of tradition, a sense of really looking into the past, and comes out in duty and honor, loyalty, tradition, and remembering the past. It's said that people with high introverted sensing have really good long-term memories. They can kind of remember every detail of, like every event that they've ever gone through or everything that everyone's ever done. So those with low introverted sensing, such as the ISFP, maybe that might not be quite as true for them. But let me talk about how introverted sensing really shows up in me. I have to admit that I have a love-hate relationship with introverted sensing. There are a lot of things that are born out of introverted sensing in other people that I find not to be very true of me, and sometimes I'm kind of happy about that, and sometimes maybe not so much. So first of all, let's start out with the whole concept of long-term memory. I always thought that I had a good long-term memory, but some people would tell me, no, maybe you don't have the greatest long-term memory that you think you do. And really what was happening there is there were certain details that I could remember really well. Like, I'm really good at Trivial Pursuit, playing trivia, things like that. I was able to hang on to a lot of what probably most people would call useless details. But when it came to like events in my life, I couldn't always remember all of the details as well as maybe I thought I could. And really what opened my eyes to this was I signed up to do a study. This guy was doing, some guy, I don't even know, I saw like an advertisement for it, I think on Twitter, and he was doing his doctoral thesis on like group memory of significant events. And it was all based around the Stanley Cup Finals last year in hockey, where the St. Louis Blues won the Stanley Cup. And I'm a big St. Louis Blues fan. I live close to St. Louis. So right after the Stanley Cup Finals were over, he sent a questionnaire asking about events that occurred during the Stanley Cup and in the round previous to that, the conference finals. And I had some memories, but I was surprised that my individual memories of, details of games were not that great. And then, like a month later, I think he sent the same questionnaire again, and I had to fill it out again. And my memories were really bad. And I thought, wow, this is crazy. I mean, this was a major event for me because I've been a Blues fan for 30 some odd years, and they finally won the Stanley Cup, and it was awesome and amazing. And I can't remember the games. Like, I can't remember much of anything that happened. And then he sent the survey out again 6 months later, which would have been like back in December or maybe January of this past year. And I had almost no memories at all. Well, when I combine that with other people telling me that my memory isn't as good as I think it is, and then some study that I had done on introverted sensing, I really came to realize that maybe my memory of life events is not nearly as good as I think, which is kind of a bummer, honestly. So when you compare that to people who have introverted sensing as their hero function, like let's say an ISFJ, you find that maybe the ISFP is lacking pretty dramatically in that area. Now, another way that I have sort of a love-hate relationship with introverted sensing is in the whole concept of loyalty. Now, I'm not saying that I'm a disloyal person or anything like that, but I don't hold grudges at all. Now, I consider that to be a really good thing, and I think that's born out of extroverted sensing being so high in my function stack. I live in the moment. ISFPs live in the moment and largely let the past go. Whereas introverted sensing is a very past focused cognitive function. In fact, I would argue that it's the most past focused, maybe even the only past focused cognitive function. So extroverted sensing is always living in the now. So if I have an argument with somebody, or somebody, does something that I don't like or that I think is rude or mean, I might get pretty angry about it. But a couple hours later, I'm starting to get over it, and eventually, like, I just get past it. Even if we didn't resolve it, although I really want to resolve it, I might just be like, whatever. That was 5 hours ago. That was yesterday. That was last week. I'm moving on. People with high introverted sensing, they're kind of grudge holders. They can really remember every detail. They can be a little vindictive, and they can really want to hang on to some of that stuff, and they're not going to let it go. Whereas with me, I'm just like, I don't have the energy to hang on to it, and it loses all of its fire because being extroverted sensing high, having that high in my function stack, I want to deal with the issue now. The fire of the moment happens in the moment, and then it dies out quickly. So having introverted sensing as my critic function way down my function stack in my shadow functions, I really don't hold on to things like that very long, and I don't hold grudges, and that's really awesome. I'm not saying that I'll never get so sick of somebody that I won't like cut them out of my life and never be around them, but I just want to not be around them. I'm not really like mad at them. I'm not thinking about them. I'm not holding grudges. I'm not going, oh my gosh, I can't wait to get back at this person or anything like that. I just don't want to be around them because they make my environment unpleasant, and I like being in a pleasant environment. Where I think that's the love part of introverted sensing, right? Like, I love that I don't hold grudges and that I can let things go pretty well. What maybe sometimes happens that's a little harder to deal with is that I don't have a real strong sense of tradition. I'll say, like, I love family traditions, okay? But I'm not a dedicated stand for the flag, take your hat off kind of guy. I love the national anthem. I probably could teach a class on the national anthem. I'm a huge history buff. I bet I know more about the national anthem than the vast majority of Americans do. Did you know it was originally called the Defense of Fort McHenry? It was written on a prison ship just outside of Baltimore. Well, not a prison ship, but the person, Francis Scott Key, who wrote it, was a quasi-prisoner. Anyway, I can tell you a whole lot about it, but I just don't have this really strong sense of honor or duty. And that's where I think the whole critical parent concept steps in a lot, because for me, I see other people who have that. And I think in my life, I've wanted it. Like, I've really wanted to be this is the way we are as whatever, as Americans, let's just say, although that's just an example. This could apply to any culture, really. Like, I don't really have this strong sense of, well, this is my culture and this is my heritage and this is the way we do things and all that. I'm just kind of like, yeah, whatever. You guys can all do it however you want. That's fine. but it really doesn't always mean a whole lot to me. And I might do it, and I might even sometimes be a little bit envious of the people that it really means something to, because I can tell they're so passionate about it, and I'm like, man, that's really cool, but I really don't have that. Now, going back to the love side of this function, not holding grudges, where I have the critic, but the critic really turns on other people, is that when I see people saying, there's this whole kind of you done me wrong, you stabbed me in the back concept that I just don't get, and it drives me crazy. So when I hear people like, oh, this person did this and they, I'm paraphrasing, but they done me wrong, they stabbed me in the back. I kind of just roll my eyes and I'm like, whatever, that's ridiculous. That's stupid. Get over it. Move on. I really don't understand that concept at all. It drives me crazy. So, on the good love side, I love that I don't hold grudges. On the hate but good side, I hate it that other people do. And I get so frustrated when people are all, oh, you done me wrong. You stabbed me in the back, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, whatever. But then on the hate side, I kind of love it, honestly, that other people have this real commitment to tradition and honor. I actually think it's kind of cool, and I kind of hate it that I don't. I kind of look at other people who have that, and I'm a little bit envious. And I think the critic function, the critical parent function comes in there and is like, what's wrong with you, Jason? Why don't you care more about these things that are part of what made your culture what it is, and part of what made your heritage what it is, and everything? And I'm like, yeah, I really see how cool that is, and I really see why people care about that and why it matters. But honestly, it just doesn't matter all that much to me. Like, let's go back to the whole stand for the flag thing, and I'm probably going to earn myself some ire by talking about this, but I'm trying to stay as non-political as possible, but this is just the best example that I can think of this. I don't really care. Like, I don't get all patriotic when people stand for the flag, and I don't really care when people don't. Like when Colin Kaepernick was taking a knee, that didn't bother me, but it also didn't mean anything to me. Like, that was not a statement. Like, I know he was trying to make a statement, but to me, it meant nothing. Like, I don't really care. Stand, don't stand, do whatever the heck you want. It just doesn't matter to me. It's irrelevant. And I kind of honestly am critical of myself for that, but I've decided that on these videos and on this channel, I'm going to totally throw myself under the bus, because as much as possible, if my way of thinking represents ISFPs, then I want to accurately represent them. So, let me just kind of summarize what I've said so far. Long-term memory, not so good, which is not a surprise having introverted sensing so far down, but I can really hang on to memories if I really want to. Like, if it's something that I say, oh, this is important, I can't forget this, then I'll remember it. I just don't always remember all the little minute details of life, even though I see them all. And then when it comes to, that whole, because of that, I would say, because I don't hold on to that, and because I live in the now with my extroverted sensing, the fire goes out fast on an issue. I live in the now. I'm not going to hold a grudge. And I really, honestly, I roll my eyes at people who do. I just see that as being so petty and ridiculous. But people with high introverted sensing are more apt to remember those details. And that's probably why they get a little bit more upset and stay upset. On the flip side, I don't have much sense of honor, duty, or tradition, and I kind of don't like myself for it, but it's true, and I'm just admitting it. And there have been times when I've kind of acted like I do because I want to, and I kind of think it's the right thing to do. But just being honest, I really don't have that at all. So that is how introverted sensing, in my estimate of things, presents itself in me. So if you're an ISFP and you're watching this, let me know which aspects of what I've said in this video you can relate to and which ones you can't relate to, if any, either way. And if you're not an ISFP and you have an ISFP in your life, just let me know if you see the same showing up in them. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I do intend to do more or finish the shadow function videos, but they do take longer because I'm doing them in this sort of animation format and it takes a while. Thank you so much for watching. Please do hit like and subscribe, and have an awesome day. Bye now.